Cohasset Police Chief William Quigley. We'll be talking about various subjects, his duties, different stories. But first, let's get to know him. He joined the Cohasset Police Force in 1987 and then was promoted to sergeant in 2002. Then in 2007 promoted to lieutenant, and then 2011 promoted to deputy chief, and finally promoted to chief in 2012. William Quigley, good to meet you.
Nice to see you, Jack.
So let's start. Can you walk me through some of your day-to-day duties as chief, what that entails?
Oh boy, so my day starts really early, usually around 5 a.m. and that starts with checking emails. As the chief, I get about between 50 and 80 emails a day about a variety of things. So that sort of frames out my day around my meetings, and we start from there. Then we march forward throughout the rest of the day, which usually ends sometime after dinner time, after 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a bit about the climate of the police station. What would you describe the teamwork like here?
So the department has really changed in the last 20 years, starting with Chief Noonan, the chief that he was my second chief here. Mm-hmm. The first chief was Chief Keeley when I started in '87 as the animal control officer. But under Chief Noonan's watch, the department changed as far as technology. We started to get computers. We moved from the one phone on the desk to multiple line phones, fax machines, the internet, which was groundbreaking back then. Yeah. Recently, the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a complete turnover in personnel. Mm-hmm. A lot of the other folks have retired. The older folks retired. And we've brought in new officers. So the average age of a Cohasset police officer now is somewhere around 28 to 29 years old. I'm the old guy at 50.
So tell us, is there anything interesting about the Cohasset Police Station that perhaps the public might not be that aware of?
We're really crammed for space right now. And this building was built in 1961 or 62, yeah. I believe. So it's really, we've outgrown it. We have 32 officers now. 19 are full-time, and the other 13 are part-time officers. Plus we have civilian support personnel. We have animal control. I have my assistant, and there's other folks, support officers and things like that. So we're really cramped for space. A lot of the officers don't even have lockers or a place to put their equipment now. They're working out of their personal vehicles as far as storing equipment. So that's really been a challenge. And it's also the setup of the station is a challenge. As far as interview rooms and things like that, we don't have a dedicated interview room now. And one of the things that we need when we're interviewing people, we have to be both video and audio record them, and we just don't have that capability right now. So we sort of string things together and make that happen.
Let's get to know a bit more about you. You have a bit of a background in photography. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I worked for the Mariner newspapers, mm-hmm. and I also did some work for the Patriot Ledger, and also UPI, United Press International. They no longer exist, but I started out taking photos. A lot of it was news photos. They were crashes and fires and just breaking news stuff. So that really paved the way for me having an interest in law enforcement.
And how has your background in photography influenced your police work?
I was around cops and firemen all the time, and it really piqued my interest. And the more I got involved, the more I thought, hey, this might be a good career, because I was just an okay photographer. I wasn't that great. So it turns out I'm a lot better at this. And I took the police exam, and I moved to Cohasset. I lived here a couple of years, and ended up getting on the list, the civil service list. It was subsequently hired.
Yeah. Are there any scenarios where you can use your photography skills today?
I respond to a lot of the calls if there's a serious crash or a fire or something like that. Right. And my skills with photography, although they're not great, they're just okay. I'm able to have good access to a scene, and that access allows me to tell the story of the officers and firefighters, what they do, what they're seeing. It's really been really cool to document how they operate and the good work that they do. And again, this is both police and fire, and be able to post it to our Facebook page or put it on social media. We have a Twitter feed, and we have well over 10,000 people following our Facebook and Twitter feed. and just following us online. So, and they, the folks seem to really love the photos.
So you've had a very long career here at Cohasset. Can you sort of walk us through the process of starting, getting the different promotions, and how you finally became chief?
So again, in 1987, I started as the part-time animal control officer, and just got to know a lot of the people who worked here and got to know the operation. And between 1987 and 2012, I literally have done every job in this department, from sweeping the floors to dispatching to working with the task force for drugs, to some other cool stuff. So I really learned the operation, and I watched the administrative side of things, and learned from our admin staff on how to pay the bills, how to order citations, how to make sure the operation runs smoothly. So being able to learn the back end of this has really been fun for me, and I continue to learn every day.
And so now let's go through the promotion process. How does that work? How do you go from, say, being a regular officer to a sergeant, then a lieutenant, and then the chief?
So the Cohasset Police Department is part of the Massachusetts Civil Service system. So there's tests every 2 years. To become a police officer, you take a civil service test. And once you're hired by a police department, once you're here a certain amount of time, for us it's 1 year, you can take the sergeant's exam. And the sergeant's exam is put together by the state, and it's questions about law, it's questions about procedure, and it's really, really competitive. So I studied for a year to become a sergeant. You have to study all aspects of the law, some really ambiguous stuff, and I took the test, and there was a need for a sergeant, and I was promoted in 2002. I got a decent score. I was able to come out near the top of the list, and I interviewed in front of the selectmen, and was appointed as sergeant. And the same thing goes for lieutenant. There's the questions get a little bit more, a little bit trickier for the lieutenant's rank. And again, I served, I think, 5 years as a sergeant, and in 2007 I was able to be promoted to lieutenant through the state test. And these tests, it's the same test for every police officer, or ranking officer in the state. So I'm taking the same lieutenant's exam as a lieutenant in Boston, or a lieutenant in Weymouth, or anywhere else. So it's standardized, and it's put on by the state, and it is difficult. I have to admit, it takes a year to study this stuff.
Right.
And same thing as you go through the ranks.
Same with chief as well.
Well, chief was done with an assessment center. So they bring in a company, commercial company, this company puts together a panel of chiefs from different agencies. Could be surrounding agencies, could be chiefs from out of state, and they run you through a process, an assessment center that takes it's like 8 to 10 hours. It's a full day, and you just barrage with questions and scenarios and different exercises, and you're ranked, and then hopefully appointed.
Wonderful. All right, so let's get to know about your feelings of Cohasset. What brings you the most joy out of working in the town of Cohasset?
It's just the people here are so good, and they really they take care of us. So in turn, we like to take care of them, and it's a beautiful town as well. I mean, you can't overlook that. It's a pretty town with great people, and I'm just really fortunate and blessed to work here.
When you're not on duty, what are some of the things you like to do in the town?
I have 2 dogs. We have 2 dogs. They're a lot of fun. I never expected to have dogs, but it sort of happened. So they're brothers. They're Yorkie poos, Taz and Caden. So we spend a lot of time with them, and they bring a lot of joy. And it's something different from police work. And so we have a lot of fun with them. We do bring them to different dog parks in Boston and around the South Shore. So they're a lot of fun. So photography and my dogs, I guess, is the answer.
Is there anything coming to the Cohasset Police Station, updates or improvements that you want the people of Cohasset to know about?
So we're doing a lot of cool things. We're looking at one of the things that we need to change, because it's a younger workforce, and there's a lot of millennial folks, we're the young police department, and people don't like to wait. Our hiring process is a little bit cumbersome. There's a 50-page application, and references. We need all kinds of documentation: high school, college diplomas, you know, transcripts, and copies of birth certificates and selective service certificates, and it's really to be hired here from start to finish. It's at least a 6-month process.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I'm looking at is trying to streamline that and make it really interactive with the candidate, so they can control. The candidate can see where they're at in the process, and they can interact with the detective that's doing their background. It sort of brings them in the loop on what's happening, as opposed to not hearing for us from a month while we wait for their credit reports or their military record or something like that. So I'm really I'm looking at different ways to streamline that, and that's going to be one of my goals for the coming year, is to really condense that time period, get it down to something reasonable, 8 to 12 weeks to do a background and get someone onboarded.
To conclude, is there anything you want to say to the people of Cohasset? Just a quick message?
It's a privilege, it really is. And this job, years ago, it was an 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. job. You come in at 8, leave at 4, pay the bills and stuff like that. But it's really evolved and changed, and for the better. But you have email. We talked about that earlier. And we have text messages, and I have my business cards on my desk. My personal cell phone number is on my business card, and it's okay for people to call. I really like to provide a high level of service for people, and with that comes, this is no longer a 40-hour-a-week job. It's literally it's a lot more than that. And just because I'm not sitting behind the desk here doesn't mean I'm not at work. I do a lot of stuff out in the community and stuff with other departments, but it's a way of life now. It really is. It's no longer just a 8 to 4 job, and that's a good thing in my eyes.
Well, thank you, Chief. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
After we concluded our interview, the chief offered to show me some of the rooms and new equipment not included in our last tour of the facilities. We started with the detective's office, where we saw their desk, badges, and plaque. Detective Harrison Schmidt also showed us their computer used for digital evidence.
The server tower, and we can plug in things like GPSs, cell phones. We can plug into infotainment centers, so like your GPS and your dashboard console and your computer, or your car. We can download that information. It's just usually every crime nowadays involves some sort of technology or a cell phone, so we can download that information and use it in our investigation.
After Schmidt showed us this, we then went to the garage to see their new ATV, completely highway legal and can go up to 60 miles per hour. They also showed us some of their SWAT equipment they had in case of an emergency. Body armor, breaching tools, all sorts of interesting tools for emergency intervention. We had a wonderful time getting to know Chief Quigley today, and hopefully you learned a little bit about him as well. Thanks for watching.
Today I'm meeting with Megan James. Megan is the new director of the Paul Pratt Memorial Library. Before she was here, she graduated from Simmons University with a master's degree in library and information science. Then in 2012, she worked part-time here at the Paul Pratt Library before leaving to work as the library director in Randolph for 5 years. In that time, she helped manage a $2.5 million renovation and upgrade for the Randolph Library. And then in January 2019, she came back to Cohasset to serve as the new library director. Megan, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for coming by.
So, let's start. Could you just start by walking me through your day-to-day activities?
Sure. So the best part about being a library director is that you get to do something different every day.
Mm-hmm.
So whether I'm ordering books or managing the staff or working with a building issue or improvement, every day is a little bit different. So I couldn't really say exactly what happens day to day because I just never know myself.
Mm-hmm. So what motivated you to choose this line of career?
I was getting my undergrad degree at Castleton State College, which is now Castleton University, and I worked at the library there.
Mm-hmm.
The library was the university library, but it was also the public library for the town because it was such a small area. And I really, really loved it. So I finished up my undergrad degree in mathematics and started getting my master's degree in library science. It was a great work-study job for me, and I really just enjoyed that, as I had said before, that every day was a little bit different and that you got to meet different people all the time.
Mm-hmm. So now that you're the library director here, what kind of environment do you hope to foster here at the library?
Especially in the town of Cohasset, we really want to be part of the community, and we want to be part of the fabric of things that are going on in Cohasset. I think the library is important for so many reasons. It's important for different things for different people. Sometimes it's literacy, sometimes it's just coming to the library and seeing people who maybe if you're lonely at home or something like that, this is a really nice place to converse. We have a puzzle going at all times. So the library means something different to everybody, and it's a really important part of the town.
How has your time at Randolph helped influence your new career here?
Randolph taught me a lot of things, and the biggest thing that it taught me was the library needs to be the center of the community, and you have to ensure that the library meets the needs of everyone in town, and to make sure that you can be innovative in the sense that to make sure you meet the interests of everybody, and not only the educational interests but also the recreational interests as well.
Mm-hmm. And speaking on innovation, we're entering a new digital age in a way, so how is the library sort of taking steps to enter and improve?
Well, it's very difficult for public libraries to kind of stay on the cutting edge of technology because of funding. Mm-hmm. We work very hard here to try to do that. People in Cohasset expect that the library is up and coming and relevant at all times. We're working very hard with our tech team at the Cohasset Town Hall to improve our computers, to improve our workflow when it comes to printing. We just got a new copy machine for the staff, which is very exciting. So we also have, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, I believe, but we work very hard to have technology that helps folks with accessibility. So for example, we have some hearing technology for our lectures and our programs, that somebody who might have some difficulty hearing can come to our programs, put on this headset, so that they can also enjoy our programs as well.
Mm-hmm. Are there any services at the library that perhaps the general public might not be that aware of?
Oh, I would say the most exciting thing that public libraries are doing right now, and Cohasset included, is we have streaming services. So just like Netflix, we have something called Hoopla, where you can download the app to your phone and you can stream movies, audiobooks, regular ebooks. We also have Overdrive that you can download ebooks to your phones. So we're really moving in a direction that the library can be outside of its walls.
And now, is there anything that your predecessor Jackie Rafferty did that perhaps you want to keep or maintain?
Sure. So she had a strong focus on ensuring that there is technology in the building to make sure that everything is accessible to everyone. And I think that's really important, and we're going to continue that moving forward.
Wonderful. So where does the funding you mentioned from the library come from?
The funding for the library in Cohasset is a little bit different than some other surrounding towns. So we have a few different fundraising groups, one of them being the Friends of the Cohasset Library. So they do all of the fundraising for our programming. They're very good at what they do. They fundraise around $20,000 a year for our programming here, which we thank them very much for. And we also have a foundation, and they fundraise for our book budget. The town pays for half of our book budget. We're state mandated to spend a certain amount of money on materials at the library, and that depends on some factors like population. And the town does not fully fund that. So the foundation comes in every year and ensures that we get to that monetary deadline that we need to get to stay certified. And the personnel and everything else does come from the town.
Wonderful. So let's get just a bit more personal, just to get to know you a bit more.
Sure.
What brings you the most joy out of this work?
I really enjoy working with people. I enjoy working with the public, meeting new folks, finding out what people's interests are is a huge part of my job. Trying to implement things that would bring people into the library, so I get to be a little strategic. as I said, my undergrad degree was in math, so I do like the budget aspect of the job and trying to figure out how to maximize our funds and present the best product.
Mm-hmm. And are there any specific literature genres that you personally enjoy?
Yes, and everybody laughs about this, but I love young adult fiction. I was the teen librarian actually in Randolph before I was the director, and I was the teen librarian here as well. And there's something about teen fiction or young adult fiction that I find fascinating. I find that the story needs to be a little bit more clever involved in those types of books because they're not able to get the shock factor from, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So they have to be really good storytellers and write really great books without those types of crutches. So I really find that genre really wonderful to read.
So to conclude, is there any message that you want to give to the people of Cohasset just about your role here?
I am very excited to be back in Cohasset. I'm looking forward to working with other community members and local businesses. We have a lot of fun programs coming up with a lot of nice partnerships. And I look forward to meeting everybody.
Well, thank you, Megan.
Thank you
It was a
very
pleasure
much.
talking to you.
Thanks for coming. So here we are in the periodical room. So this is where you would come at the library to find magazines. We have a plethora of magazines. A lot of our budget goes towards magazines and newspapers. They're very popular. You also find some nice quiet study space back here. It's great because of the windows. People really enjoy the natural light coming in. And we also have one of our assistive devices back here, the video magnifier or just a document magnifier. So you can slide the document in and it'll zoom out or zoom in so that you can see a little bit better. So something, again, that we're very proud of is being able to offer these type of devices to everyone to make the library accessible. This is another quiet space that people use, a great little reading nook. People can grab their magazines or newspapers out of that room and come sit here. Another great space for some bright lights. On this side, and this whole side of this wall, you're going to see our nonfiction collection. So anything from learning how to use technology to writing resumes, legal guides, things like that, you're going to find all down this area. We like to call nonfiction our fact books. So this area here and all in front of you is our reference area and also another great place for some quiet study area. We have anything that you're looking for reference-wise. We also house our mystery collection here. So we do, within our fiction collection, we do separate our mysteries and our science fiction because they're of high interest to people and they like to be able to kind of come to one spot and find that genre. So you'll find that here. And so here we have our computers that are open to the public. Anyone can come and use them. We have a scanner that's available to the public and also printing in color and black and white. A collection that we're very proud of is our Red Hot Reads. Years ago, the big complaint about libraries was that people would come and want to get the new, best fiction book or top-selling fiction book, and it would be checked out, and there would be an extensive hold list. So we've created a collection that people cannot put a hold on. That's our browsing collection. So now, if you're looking for the new bestseller, more than likely you can come to the library and find it right on the shelf. This took a lot of planning and work by the staff and working with different vendors, but it's worked out very well and it's very popular and we're very proud of it. So on my right here we have our fiction collection, and on my left we have our study room B. This is a place that you can reserve to have small group work go on that could be private. We do have a lot of tutors that use these spaces, and we have two study rooms, study rooms A and study room B. We also have a really extensive audiobook collection, very popular, even though as I mentioned, we have our streaming services. People are still very interested in coming to get books on CD. So here we are in our teen room. I'm proud to say that when I actually started part-time, the first time I was here in 2012, it was brand new, and I believe I was the first teen librarian here. This is a great space for the teens to come after school and hang out. We have these great Yogi Bo chairs that are comfortable like bean bags. They have their own computers. Also, the doors close here, so if the teens do want to be a little bit louder and not disturb the rest of the public, they can close those doors and create a little privacy for themselves as well. It's a very popular room, especially in the summer. They'll go out and play some basketball and come in and play some games on the computers and hang out and cool down a little bit. So this is a great space. So this is our wonderful, bright, exciting children's room that's always packed to the gills of children and getting their picture books and whatever that they need. We do have a few educational toys that they can come in and hang out and play as well. We're also very excited about our AW stations, which are computers that have educational games downloaded on them for kids. Kids come right in, even, the 2-year-olds will plop themselves down. They already know how to use all the games. It's very impressive. This is probably the most active area in the library. It's full of giggles and laughs, and we have some wonderful programs as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit. We have a programming room in the back, the story room, that we do crafts in on Thursdays, but most of our programs go into our meeting room because they're so large. We have up to 100 to 120 people per story time or puppet show, and I'll kind of show you the logistics of that. We have to open up some doors and we're very strategic about our seating, but we're very proud of our children's room, and it is very active. This is our wonderful multifaceted meeting room. We have a collaboration with the South Shore Art Center. They come in and put their artwork up for display. We have a lot of groups in town and the folks from Sunrise who come and admire the artwork that's here. And also our meeting room is our main spot for all of our programming. As many of you have probably seen, we've started a new quarterly mailing, and all of our programs are listed here. It's very, very active. Our summer reading program has been a real success. We had live birds in here, we've had farm animals, we've had all sorts of really exciting things. We've also started a small business collaboration, so we had Fresh Feast come and do a summer salad demonstration where people could come and taste some of these different salads and learn how to make salads for themselves very quickly, or if they're having a big group. We have Awesome Blossom coming to do some flower arrangements for the holidays, and we also have a partnership with the Balance Studio, and they're coming in to do some free yoga classes for adults and kids. So, that's the big part of one of our big goals is to be a part of the community, and part of that is working with folks around town. So this room has seen a lot of very different types of programs. We've had author talks and lectures, and we've had yoga and dance parties, so it's a very well-used room. Yeah. So lastly, I really wanted to show you what helps pay for a lot of our programming, since we just were in the meeting room, is our Friends of the Library book sale that we've just expanded. You can come here and purchase books for fairly inexpensive, and all of the proceeds go to funding our programming here. We're very excited about the expansion of this book sale. I believe it was just one row of bookshelves before, and we've made it much bigger. So if you want to come and support the library and support our programming, this would be a great place to start.
Well, I had a great time interviewing Megan today, and I hope you got to know her as well. Please come to the Cohasset Library and give them as much support as you can. I've been Jack Cunningham, and thank you for watching.